Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the darkest timeline, and have I got a doozy for you? It's just long. It's just real long. We're talking about changing calories from lots of calories to not so many calories. Getting out of bed versus not getting out of bed. The end of climbing. Memory and life. There's TV, stand-up specials and plenty of VR games, but not much else in the way of entertainment. So if you're here for a movie review, sorry. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Big one there is share the podcast around. It's a big thing for podcasting, word of mouth, and it'd mean a lot if you could pass the podcast on to somebody. Right, anyway, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the darkest timeline. Hello. How you doing? You well? You good? As always, I have to presume that the answer to all of those questions is yes. Otherwise, get in touch. Let's chat. And I'm not sure why it is that I feel it necessary to break down the podcast I'm about to do. I don't know why I've done that for X amount of time. I was literally just sat trying to work out how many years. I believe I've just put this down as the 240th Darkest Timeline podcast. And I was like, it must mean it's closing in on 5 years. And then I started trying to do the maths and got a little lost, which just shows how much of an idiot I am. Closing in on 5 years. Not of podcasting. I think that's more like 6. But as we've noticed, more recently I have that whole here's the stuff that's in the podcast that I'm about to record. Anyway, there's a variety of different things this week, ranging from good, bad, and everything in between. Little bit of TV. No movies. I've got this really weird thing at the moment. Big pile of movies. No time to watch them. Don't actually know where I'm supposed to fit these movies in. It's really weird. And loads of computer games. So if you're here for computer games, you're in luck. So, what will seem even weirder is right now it's like a week into the new year. So, like 3 weeks since Christmas. But the first thing of the week is to talk about something that was from just after Christmas. Seems weird to me. It's going to seem even weirder to you at the back end of January. But anyway. In fact, let me get a drink. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just turning round. Orange squash. Ladies and gentlemen, don't buy orange squash. Nobody needs orange squash. Nobody likes orange squash. It's fine, because I'm going to offset it with a non-alcoholic Guinness. Anyway. So, last week I spoke about having that week after Christmas, where it's very much, I managed to get to Christmas and be, pretty much the lowest weight all of the entire year. Christmas comes and it's like, right, well, I worked relatively hard throughout the year. Now it's time to go crazy and eat absolutely everything. Mince pies for breakfast. That was a good one. So the week after, like that week between Christmas and New Year, it was free reign in this house, and I think I probably discussed about the fact that I put on some weight, and New Year comes and goes. New Year, new me. No, just same old, innit? But you just, or for me anyway, you just rein it in a little bit. So that is the way it's been. But the thing I wanted to talk about was what it looks like from a exercise perspective. I don't think personally I quite eat right for like exercise purposes. The biggest issue I have is the possibility that I may, I'm not saying this is definitely a thing, but I may actually work out too much for the amount I eat. If you look at, like, I'll give you an example, like a Wednesday. What's going on here? I was trying to get some heat. Is it this one? Is it this one? Oh man. No. Is it this one? Yeah, there we go. Sorry, that was a complete aside. I can't feel my hands. I've got this problem with my hands at the moment. There's often been this thing of there's the possibility that I don't eat enough for the amount I work out, and the amount I work out is that on a Wednesday, get up at 5:45, 6 o'clock sort of time, go out the door, climb for an hour, come home. There'll be a point in time where I walk the dog. Then it's like, come lunchtime, it's just treadmill, workout. I'm backwards and forwards, like doing school runs. Then there's another dog walk. And by the end of the day, it's like, okay, that was the day. And on those days, because it's busy, probably don't eat in the right time slots and don't necessarily eat enough for the amount that's being done. So there are times when I've gone with I've got this big workout and I've got this run to do and I've got this and the other to do. So I should load up on calories. So it's like, protein for breakfast, like that sort of stuff. So obviously your body gets used to it. My days are very much like, on this day I eat this, and on that day I eat that, and at lunchtime I eat that, and at breakfast I eat that, and your body's its own worst enemy, because it gets used to things and then stops working the way it's supposed to. So there's this thing of, maybe not eating the right stuff at the right times. So, jumping back again to what I was saying about the fact that there's that week of just, eat everything sort of situation. I've noticed before, if there's an increase of calories, how that affects things like running, working out, more recently, and with what I'm talking about here, how it can affect like climate. So anything energetic, anything that requires strength or energy or whatever, increase of calories equals energy. Energy is, available to output. I think we can all understand the principle of, oh my God, I don't want to go out the door and run or go and do whatever exercise thing it is. Oh man, I could really do without having to work out at this point in time, or even today, sort of thing. Who wants to get up at 5:45 and go out the door in the dark to go and climb up a wall? All of that. If you increase calories, and let's face it, past the required amount for a standard day or week, it's a lot of excess energy, a lot of excess calories, a lot of excess energy. So what I was finding was, I went in the gym and I had an absolute monster workout. I was slinging the weights around, doing extra sets, doing extra reps. Oh my God, this is fantastic. This is wonderful. This is amazing. I got on the treadmill, and when it was saying that I should have been doing a 6, I was doing a 7.5. And when it was saying I should have been doing an 8, I was doing an 8.5. And this incline, and like, I've got out the door to run, and I was supposed to just run around the block, but I've run further, and noticing that difference. And you kind of do that, maybe it's a good thing. Obviously, when you step on the scales a week later and go, oh my word, look how much weight I put on, obviously it's not a good thing. And you can look at the fact that, there are these fitness influencers. Oh, now I feel like I need a shower. Who go on to places like Instagram and places like that and go, here's what I eat in a day. And I always think the same thing. I always think, although the meals you are eating, what you would consider to be super clean, you've had 9 of them. There was one I saw the other day where they halfway through the video it went, this is what I eat pre-workout. And then the next thing was, this is what I eat post-workout. And I'm like, unless you're in the gym for 3 hours, which I've done before and I understand the principle, pre and post-workout meals, and we're not talking this person had a protein bar, we're talking a full-blown meal. I think the pre-workout meal was like porridge, blueberries, and there was something else, and I can't remember what the other thing was. And I was like, that's a meal. That's not a snack. That's not like an energy boost of whatever description. That's a meal. That's X percentage of people's breakfast. But then the post-workout meal, which I can't remember any of, all I remember of was like going, that's also a meal. So, obviously the principle being is that you should be eating, for want of a better way of putting it, a lot, exercising a lot, and what you eat is clean. That's the principle, that's the idea, that's, And to say, I know like somebody would get hold of what I've just said there and go, well, you shouldn't ever be eating a lot. Obviously, what I mean by that is a lot of like the little and often principle type thing. So, eat 9 meals that are small and clean food. That sort of thing. That's what I mean. I don't want to offend. So, going back in time again. So you've got the week where I was like, I'll eat this, I'll eat that, I'll eat the other, I'll have this mince pie. A little bit of Yule log. Nom, 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 nom. So, I'm in the gym and I'm lifting the weights. I'm like, whoa, look at this. Whoa, yeah. And I'm on the treadmill and I go out for my run and I go climbing and everything is great, fantastic, wonderful. And like I said, until I stepped on the scales. Jump forward another week. So we've had New Year and now it's New Year, new me. Well, no, it's just New Year, let's get back at it. And, you know, there are those times throughout the year where you're a little bit more relaxed than you should be when you're as overweight as I am. So you're like, well, you know, I just need to rein it back in. Let's cut that out and let's fast here and not eat this and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So, going from a lot of calories to a lot less calories. Noticing the difference in the gym was not what I expected. So what I expected was, I can't lift this. I can't do another set. I can't do another rep. I can't run at that speed. None of that happened. The one, and I know it's a focus and whatever. The one I did notice a difference with was the climbing side of things. Just that little bit less able to do stuff that I'd been able to do previously, or a week earlier or whatever. Something I did notice as being a difference was doing a variety of different exercises and getting the physical shakes. Now, I've experienced the shakes before from points in time where you go, oh, it's 4:00 on a Saturday afternoon. I'm just going to look at what I've eaten today. Okay, I've had 4 coffees and about 150 calories worth of fruit crackers. I have also run 4.5 miles, done 90 minutes of climbing, done a workout, walked the dog at 6:00 in the morning. That's probably not enough, and that probably explains why my body is literally shaking to the point of like vibrating. It's nothing new to me. It's not a new experience, but in the space of a week to experience it 3, 4, 5 times in a week, that was a very different experience, and it was a bit like, oh man. So yeah, and ultimately, somewhere in the middle of all that is the sweet spot. Somewhere in the middle of all that is, this is the exact amount of food / calories / protein, fats and carbs that you need to eat for what you're doing. Unfortunately for me, and anybody listening to this right now, I don't know what that is. It's an oldie but a goodie, ladies and gents, where we're talking about not getting up versus getting up. As I say, not a new subject for the podcast. However, a subject that's come up quite a bit recently. Again, post-Christmas, post-New Year, post-festivities, post-short version, point in time where maybe you don't have to get up on that day at that time, i.e. going to work. But also not the case. I was saying earlier this evening, I was saying, there are no days when I don't have to get up. But obviously you've got a little bit of leeway with these things. Oh, if I get up at 5:45, it means I can do this. But if I get up at 6, well, it's 15 minutes more sleep. Boom. And I can still probably get what I need to get done. So, that's what we're talking about. That bit of leeway type of thing. So, I had this variety of like days, mornings, whatever, where I'd get up and like, I get up and go to the toilet. It's like, 10 to 6, I'll get up and go to the toilet. By the time you've got out of bed, walked into the bathroom, gone to the toilet and come back, you're going like, I'm quite awake. I feel quite rested and refreshed and relaxed. And you start doing maybe if I get up now, I can get a jump on the day and I can get this done and that done and the other done. And we all know that whole, yes, but if I get back into bed, I can have some more sleep. Then you've got the times of where you just like, the alarm goes off, you get out of bed, turn the alarm off, get back into bed, because let's face it, well, you didn't actually have to be up at that point in time. You had to be up, at another point in time, and that sort of thing. However, I've reached a point recently where I think I've truly seen all the benefits. I see all the benefits to getting up. I was listening to a podcast today where I was like, maybe it's time to just commit to doing it as a rule. And there was a day last week where at 9 o'clock in the evening, I was like, I need to go to bed. And Leon's like, why don't you go to bed? I'm like, well, I can't go to bed. It's, I just can't do that. That's not who I am. But every part of me, every part of my being was like, you need to go to bed. And I'm like, but I can't. That's impossible. I couldn't possibly do that. But like I say, with this sort of more relaxed time of year, or last year, or however you want to put it, there has been that element of, I should get up at this time. Every single time you get out of bed when you're supposed to, everything goes better, smoother. You've just got that bit more leeway. Every time you don't get out of bed when you're supposed to, or even later than you're supposed to, everything's worse from that point on. And there's that whole theory of, to get an extra 15 minutes sleep, you're not actually getting an extra 15 minutes sleep because it's not restful sleep. And if you're awake enough to get up out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the toilet, then that is the point in time that you are awake enough to get the day started. So that's what you should be doing. But yeah, there's been this real sort of, I feel like I'm on the cusp of making that decision to just get up. But and this might sound a little strange, I am aware of this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Part of me thinks and feels that it's like an old person. It's like an old person thing to do. Like I've reached that point where I can no longer benefit from staying in bed, and I've reached a point where I'm like, maybe the benefit is from getting up and getting on with the day. But there's this part of my brain that goes, that's such an old person thing to do. And I think it's the part of my brain that forgets that I am an old person. Not old, but 43 is not exactly young, is it? So, yeah. We'll see what happens. Right, I'm gonna mark this point in time. We'll see what happens in the morning, because I've got two options for the morning. One is get up early, get the day started, has a particular benefit. The other is don't get up quote unquote early, but get up at a particular time to do a different set of things that are equally as important. Which will he choose? I haven't committed to either as well. I was asked, which are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know right now. Let's find out in the morning. Oh, I love living dangerously. That's right, ladies and gents. That's the level of danger that I have in my life these days. Yikes. So, I had a situation last Wednesday. Got up early in the morning, and I went off to climbing as always. Got there with a reasonable time to spare, etc., etc. I'm questioning myself now, and it's completely redundant, because part of me is like, it wasn't Wednesday, it was Thursday. What difference does it make? One day last week, I get up and I go to climbing, and I get after it. I get the climbing done. However, getting after it and getting the climbing done were two things that I didn't do. I've been having these sort of real difficulties recently, which is a lot to do with like not standing around in that sense, but standing in the place, looking around and going, hey, there's a climb that I used to be able to do that I can't do now. A route. There's one that I can do. There's one that I can do. There's one I can do. Oh, I can't do that one anymore. Oh, look, there's a really weird one that there's no part of me that should be able to do that, but I can. Yet I can't do the one on the other side, which is technically easier. There's another one I can't do. There's a one, the next colour up, that I can't do. There's one there that requires me to do like a twisting motion with my hips that I can't do. Hey, there's the one where you have to hang upside down, which I can do a lot more than I imagine anybody would expect me to be able to, but I can't do it. I got into this super funk, this proper, like, what am I doing? Why am I here? What is this? Now, if you've been listening to the podcast a lot recently, this isn't the first time this has happened. This isn't the first time this has come up. This is pretty much a weekly thing. So, I'm looking around and I'm like, why am I here? I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this. This is a ridiculous concept. I was like, this is it for me. This is now the point in time where I make the decision to stop coming. And it's not for me. I can't progress. I can't get any further. It's time to just realise my limitations, where my limitations are set, and they are set below where I need to be to do this. So that's the end of this, and I'm kind of okay with that, because I can't push myself past my comfort zone any more than I have. And if I can't do this activity, then I shouldn't be here and I shouldn't be doing it. So that was that. And then I started getting quite emotional about it. And it was this weird thing. I was transported through time back to maths at school. And I remember a time when I was at school, in secondary school, more often than like primary school. I think primary school you've got a lot more leeway, but once you hit secondary school, you're either good or you're not. That's as simple as it comes. Especially in the 90s, you were either, hey, this kid can do it, or hey, this kid can't. Hey, this guy's going places, or this guy's going to McDonald's to flip burgers. Not that going to McDonald's is a bad job thing to do. I've been there, I've done it. But in those days, you either had prospects or you didn't, and that was it. Nowadays, I think there's a lot more around, hey, you strike us as somebody that may not find this as easy as the person you are sitting next to. Let's find a way to change that. No child left behind. In the 90s, they were more than happy to let you, rot in a corner somewhere because you were of literally no use to them or anyone else. So we'd learn new things in maths. Now, it took X number of years later for someone to go, hey, you might be dyslexic because you can't do anything. You can't spell, you can't write, you can't read, and you should be able to do all of those things by this age. So, yeah, why has nobody picked that one up? So, in maths, around about the time that I was just about getting something, the subject matter would change and learn something new. So I'd been in a room with 30 other people, 30 other children, and we'd learn something new. And 20 of those children would get that new thing. And 5 of those children would be beyond that level. They'd get it and they'd move on. And 20 children would get it and do it. And then there'd be the 5 children who went, I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand the language you're speaking. How am I ever supposed to be able to do any of this? Those 5 children would get the teacher come and say, oh, you don't seem to be able to do it. What's wrong? How can we help? What do you need? And I would be one of those children. I'd be going, I don't understand. I think you might actually be talking in a different language. And all right, okay. And then try and explain it a different way. Let's explain it a different way. Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't help me either. I still don't understand. All right, okay. Well, what about this? How about this? Let's look at it this way. You've got this, and if you've got that, then the answer's this. It's like, nope, still not getting it. And I'd start to get flustered, and I'd start to get all like, oh no, I'm getting left behind, and I don't know what to do, and all that. And then start to get emotional. So the emotional side of it would then start to bubble up and rise. But then, as mentioned, you're in a classroom with 30 children who are all absolute savages, and the moment they smell blood in the water, that's the end of you. And that could be the end of you for the rest of your school career, etc., etc. So, you have to push that emotion down. Push it all down. Not show any weakness, not show any emotion. Fast forward 30 years, and there's me again in this place where I'm going, oh my word, it's the same exact thing. I'm looking at this subject as it's written in a foreign language. It's a puzzle that you solve with your body, with your physicality. I have a body that is 3 sizes too big, and my physicality cannot move that object the way it's supposed to move. And I was just having this almost like a mental breakdown. And I started getting emotional. I'm like, I've got to push all these emotions down, because although I'm not in a room with 30 other people trying to do the same thing, I am in a room with, I think it was one of those days where I'm in the room with like 4 to 10 other people who are trying to do various things. who, from my perspective, are all better than me and can all do it, and they get it and I don't. So that was it for me. I made the decision there and then. I can't do this, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to. So it's time. It's time to admit that and move on. Oh, and by the way, this is not in any way, shape, or form me setting up the bait and switch where I tell you that I managed to do a really difficult climb and I reinvigorated my love of climbing. No, that's not coming. Just so we're clear. So I did my climbing. I left climbing, and as I was leaving, I was like, I think this is me done. And I think that I'm okay with that. And I saw the path of the other people in my life that do this activity. I saw Leanne moving on to doing bigger and better things and coming home and telling me about how she attempted this a black route and managed to do it, and a green and a pink and all this, and how my eldest would eventually start telling me the same sort of thing. She attempted a black and she found it. She finished that one, and the realization that I was then just going to have to be a spectator from that point on. And again, I was fine with that. I was just like, okay, I can do that. I can be that person. I can cheer for them on the side and all of that. And I came home, and it was like, oh, how did you get on at climbing today? And I was like, I think I am done with climbing. I don't think I need to go anymore. And I don't think I'm going to ever be able to achieve anything. So I'm okay with being done. And it was put to me like, oh, so you're fine watching everyone else succeed at this. And I was like, I am, yes. Now, the bait and switch is this. I have been climbing since then. I went on Saturday. And I didn't really achieve all that much. Who knows what's going to come of the next? At this point in time, I'm like 2 days away from going again. And let's face it, I think we both know I ain't going to be achieving shit when I go. So, but here's the kicker. Here's the best one. I scanned in to climbing on Saturday and an alarm went off. And I went, what? What the hell's that? And the guy said, oh, it's fine, it's okay. You've still got a couple of days left on your membership. And I went, oh, wow, it's like that was all, written in the stars. Because I'm now like, well, I don't want to have to pay for it if I don't want to do it anymore. So maybe it's all... And this was what I was saying. I was like, maybe the whole thing is a sign that realistically it's all just come to an end. The membership's come to an end. My ability has come to an end. Maybe that's what I'm being told. So I came out house climbing, and it was the worst, and I don't want to do it anymore, and I think I'm done. And you'll regret it and all this. And I'm like, I'm sure. And then I slipped very heavily into a very deep depression. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to have any form of conversation. I didn't want to interact with anybody in my family. I was just like, I want you to leave me alone. Which was great, because I then had to spend, X amount of time with my family. It was rough, to say the least. Been having a bit of a problem in the house recently. Something I have dealt with before, something that I do not want to have to deal with at any point in time, but something that has reared its ugly head again. My youngest daughter has reached a point in time where, for whatever reason, this isn't a blame culture, ladies and gents, but she has been lying. So in a very short space of time, I've been going through a lot of this. If she's asked a question, rather than saying, I don't know the answer, or saying, I'm really sorry, I wasn't listening, or saying, like, I don't know what you want me to say, rather than saying any of those things, instead, what she's been saying is just anything that comes into her head. And that may not seem that bad on the surface, but there are situations where she'll say, rather than saying, I don't know, rather than saying, I don't remember, or I wasn't listening, she'll say, oh, well, so-and-so said this. And I'll be like, that's interesting, because I was there when that happened, and that's absolutely not what was said. So, initially, you had that, you shouldn't say that because that's not what happened. So, don't say something that didn't happen. So that was the first one. A little bit later, a little bit further down the line, a couple of days later, she's asked a question. One of those situations where she doesn't know the answer, because she wasn't listening or she didn't hear, she doesn't remember. So in that situation, the answer should be, I'm sorry I didn't hear you, I'm sorry I don't know, or I'm sorry I can't remember. And instead, what we got was, oh, you said this. And the response is, again, well, I was there, and that person absolutely did not say that. So, that is not true. So now we're falling into the category of that is not true, and another way of looking at that, another way of putting that would be that is a lie. So you have lied. Why have you done that? I didn't hear. Okay, well, if you didn't hear, you should say that. Don't lie about something. Just say, I didn't hear you. All right, okay. Couple of days pass. And there was this situation where there was a problem about something. And why is this a problem? Has somebody said something? Oh, yes. This person said this. And I was like, hang on one flipping minute. Because I can tell you for a fact that person did not say that. And you saying what you've said is very bad, because you are just outwardly lying at this point in time. So I got quite angry, and I was like, that is just, you are now just lying. You are not saying, I don't remember, all of those things that I keep going through. You are now just lying. And it reminded me, this is not my first rodeo. I was like, my middle daughter went through this phase at a particular point in time, and I started trying to piece it together, and I was like, I think that my middle daughter was the same age that my youngest daughter is now. And I'm like, oh my word, it's a phase. It's just a point in time where there's like this disconnect in the processing, where rather than saying the truth, those things I keep going through, I don't remember, I didn't hear, I don't know. It's like a mixture of like fear because they know they weren't listening, or fear because they know they don't understand and they should, supposedly should, or they just don't know the answer. So they then give you the answer they think you want, the answer they think that sounds right, the answer that they think it should be. And it's like, but that's not true. And I was like, I've been through this before. It wasn't fun. But I also remember coming out the other side of it. And coming out the other side of it was the point in time where I asked my middle daughter something and I knew that it was an opportunity for her to lie, to not tell the truth. And I could see the cogs turning. And then I could see her make that decision to say, well, I've been told up till this point that I should tell the truth, so that's what I'm going to do. And that's what happened. And at that point in time, she'd gone through that long process of then saying, here's the truth. And me going, okay, cool, that's great. But yeah, not my favourite phase to be going through. And weirdly, to be going through it again at this point in time, this age, to go, wow, it must genuinely be a phase. And obviously, at this point in time, I'm very hopeful that, I've spoken to my youngest daughter, Leanne's spoken to her, that whole concept of this is why it's not good, and just that hope that she can sort of take that on board and learn that and move forward from it. So yeah, fingers crossed, because, not ideal. Can't remember whether I told a story about something that happened on possibly New Year's Day. I think, now I say that, I think I did. So there was possibly a story I told about walking the dog. Something I do twice a day, sometimes, most days, unless I'm not here, and then Leanne has to walk the dog. And I think it was New Year's Day, and I was walking the dog, and I was walking along, and again, saying about getting emotional. I got emotional because I was having all these sort of memories, or these sort of reminders about people who aren't here anymore. It was a New Year's Day. It was going into a new year, a year that's gone. People that, I don't know if everybody's like this, because I am just me, but I carry people with me that are no longer here anymore. Family members that aren't here anymore, friends that I've lost, friends of family that aren't here anymore, like family that's not my family but family I'm connected to, and so on and so forth. And I don't know if it was the connection of it being, like I say, New Year's Day. And I got quite emotional about people that aren't here. I remember listening to a podcast. I think it was Bert Kreischer saying about a particular person had passed away and at the age that they were at, and then going through all the things that those people will never see because they're not here anymore. And I was having a similar sort of thing. I was like, some of these people haven't been here for, nearly 20 years. So all the stuff that's happened in the last 20 years that those people never saw, never aware of. So like I say, it was an emotional time. And again, I think I covered it previously, so we're retreading at this point. Now, I'm not sure if remembering these individual people and giving each of these people their own point in time for me to remember them maybe triggered my brain to dredge up old memories. So I'd be like going about my life, doing my day, doing my whatever, and all of a sudden my brain would go, hey, do you remember that time that thing happened? And I'd be like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember that. That was a good time, good memory. But just the most random things. And just in the middle of doing just standard day-to-day stuff, my brain would be like, hey, do you remember that thing that happened that time? I'm like, yeah? Why are we going over this right now? I don't know, just thought I'd remind you. Okay. It's like, thanks. You're welcome. I'll go back to, keeping you breathing. Okay, thank you. Been the weirdest, like I say, it's like the 8th today. Not for you, it's the 8th, but for me it is. So we're a week to the day into the new year. And over the last week, I've just been like going about my life, going about my day, and my brain's been like, hey, do you remember that thing? Like, yeah. Like, that's good. Like, okay, thanks. It's good to know that you still work. Orange. I had I've had a rough weekend off the back of I think I'd sort of said, and I thought I'd sort of alluded, and I do a lot of alluding. The previous thing that I just talked about might be a prime example. So I had a rough weekend. Life seems to be kicking me in the balls at the moment. And doing it when I least expect it. So I had a whole thing at like around Christmas, and that then sparked a load of sort of memories of Christmas, the ghost of Christmas past, which for me, as a person that has a particular dislike for that time of year for a variety of different reasons, it just all ties together. But it was very much here's a point in time where you're supposed to be having a good time and a nice time and all of that, and life just decided to take a square kick in the nuts. And I was like, great. And I dealt with it and I moved on. And then the weekend just gone, life was like, hey, do you remember a couple of weeks ago when I kicked you square in the nuts? And I was like, yes. I do remember. Yes, thank you. It's like, well, guess what? Bang! It's like, oh, thanks for that. So yeah, I had this sort of rough weekend, big old kick in the stones. And honestly, I had this two-sided thing where one side of me was going down hard. I was going to be no use to anybody, no use to man the beast. Like I say, earlier in the week, I'd gone through this like really deep but really rapid depression. Lasted like a day. And then, fast forward to the weekend, life's like, here's a kick in the balls for you. And I am like, so 50% of me is like, this sucks ass. This is the worst. And the other 50% of me was there going, okay, but you need to get on with stuff. So pull those britches up and get on with it. Those two things simultaneously do not go together and do. So you've got this whole, oh my God, I feel awful. I feel crap. I feel like everything is the absolute worst right now. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to have anything to do with this. And anyway, I've got to get on and I've got to do this. And I've got that job to do. Oh, I need to be smiley and happy and, the jolly and let's have a laugh and a joke and a good time and all of that. Which, honestly, is a little bit like split personalities. Which, not ideal. Now, this relates to something else. As I don't know if many people know or understand or whatever, I have a series of animals that live in my house. Some of them are not. I have 2 cats and a dog, and they're all Egypts basically. 2 cats are brothers. Apparently that's a terrible idea. So, absolutely the sort of thing I'm going to do. They're brothers. The older of the 2 brothers is the one that gets bullied by the younger one, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but whatever. The younger one is a bully, and he's real mean to the older one. And it's very much one of those. They are both, they're brothers because they're, from the same mother, born at the same time. But it's just the older one was just born a few minutes before the other. So, they are brothers. And for want of a better way of putting it, they basically hate each other. And when they're not hating each other, one of them hates me more than anything has hated anything else. But it's okay, because he loves Leanne more than anything has loved anything else. So, contrast. And then there's the other cat. And the other cat is a bit of a weirdo. So, the other cat, for want of a better way of putting it, he's horrible. He's a bit of an asshole. And he's mean. And he's a bully. And he steals food. And he steals toys. Like the other one, the timid one. I say timid. If the dog goes anywhere near him, he'll absolutely kick the snot out of the dog. But timid in every other sense. It's a very strange situation. The other one's never had a toy. Never had a toy in his entire life. Because the bully won't let him have a toy. All toys are his, all food is his, everything is his. Now then, somebody once said to me, "You hate that cat." And I said, "No, I don't. You are gravely mistaken. I love that cat more than a lot of things in this world." That might seem strange, because I'm always like, oh, you've been sick, or oh, you're mean to your brother, or oh, you've been doing weird things in the middle of the night and that's annoying, and oh, you stole a Yorkshire pudding. He's got a real thing for Yorkshire puddings. It's very strange. And for all the reasons you could possibly imagine to dislike a cat, I'm not a cat person, I'm a dog person. My dog would maybe disagree about that, but anyway. So, let me explain about this cat. This cat has a very strange trait, and I can already feel myself getting emotional, but I'll try and get through it. This cat has a very strange trait, and this trait is this. If he knows that I am sad or upset or depressed, he comes and finds me and tries to make me feel better. And as I say to people, nobody will understand the feelings that I have for this cat because of the fact that he'll just come and be like, you're sad and I need you to not be. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make you not sad anymore. And honestly, there are points in time where I truly believe that cat has saved me. Like at the absolute lowest point in my life, at the absolute worst point in time in my life, that cat was there. And that cat was there to like, as if it was there to look after me. It's like, hey, big guy, I need you to be okay, so what do you need me to do? So, that's a very long-winded way of getting to this story. Sunday morning. Got up Sunday morning. Going back to getting up when you're supposed to. Yeah. Anyway, I get up and I've got X number of things that need to be done in X amount of time so that I can get on with my day and enjoy the day. So I was like, right, I've got to go and do this and this and this. And I head off into the bathroom. The cat, at this point in time, is eating his breakfast. Now, there is absolutely nothing in this world that is going to get in the way of that animal eating that meal. Nothing. And I walk past and I'm like, oh, there you are eating your breakfast. And all of a sudden, he stopped eating his breakfast. And he's like, I have more important things to do right now. I'm coming with you. And I was like, huh? He's like, I need to come with you. Like, okay. So off I go into the bathroom, and he follows me into the bathroom in the middle of his breakfast. There is, you can't comprehend what that statement means. There is nothing in this world that will get in the way of that animal and a meal. And in the middle of his breakfast is like, I've got a higher calling in life. So I go into the bathroom. He comes into the bathroom and he's just there with me. Like, hey, how you doing? You okay? What do you need? Do you need to rub my belly? Will that help? I was like, maybe. He's like, why don't we start with some strokes and we can move to some belly rubs? And I was like, yeah, okay, I can get on board with that. There was a point in time I'm in the bathroom, I'm looking at this cat, and I was like, you can go if you want. I know you're eating your breakfast. So I opened the door to the bathroom, and he was like, nah, mate, I'm doing my higher calling. I'm staying here with you. I was like, okay, shut the door. So he's like, what do you need? What can I do? How can I help you? You're sad, and I want to make it so that's not the case. And I was like, thanks, I appreciate it. And it made me feel like a warm, fuzzy feeling, which helped me to get on with my day and helped me to get through that dark point in my life. And I was like, right, I need to go in the shower. And I opened the door, and he walked out of the bathroom and went back to eating his breakfast. And that right there is the reason that I love that animal. I cannot express how that animal has been there at the lowest points of my life and just been like, I am awful to everyone and everything, but I'm not awful to you right now. Last thing from the week, obviously, back on the gravy train. Not gravy, gravy's bad. I'm back on the weight loss journey. Restricted all the calories. Done. Increased exercise. Done. And brought back a classic intermittent fasting, doing the old 8-12, is it? It's supposed to be 16 hours, so, 8 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock. I've actually been pushing it a little bit further, so I think I've been doing 18 hours, because I think I've been getting all the way through till 2. So, as we'd expect, we're going to see, some real movement in the weight. Got on the scales this morning. It's Monday, it's weigh day, and absolutely lost my shit, because I stepped on the scales and the scales were like, nice try. I'm like, what? Like, all right, let's be real here. You lost a pound. There. What do you want me to say? I was like, I want you to say I've lost a minimum of 3, if not 5 pounds this week. The scales were like, nah, mate, that ain't happening. I was like, okay. Maybe you didn't calibrate properly when I turned you on, so I'll give you another chance. We're all on the same page here. Let's give it another go. And the scales were like, all right then. I stepped back on the scales and they were like, yeah, it's the same, isn't it? And I lost my shit. So, look forward to hearing me talk week in, week out about how I haven't lost the weight that I was supposed to this week and how that's the worst thing in the world. Right, let's talk entertainment stuff. This podcast is running long. I knew it was going to be a long one. That's what she said. I watched Dave Chappelle's latest stand-up special called Dreamer. One of those things, like so many other people, I believe Dave Chappelle has basically just signed a massive deal with Netflix. I believe Kevin Hart has probably done similar. I know, obviously, Adam Sandler did, was it $200 million for X number of movies? And it must be weekly at this point that he's releasing films on Netflix. Anyway, Dave Chappelle's latest stand-up special. Obviously, the moment it was released, certain people will have gone through it to look for certain subject matters, certain clips to put them on the internet to talk about how awful and terrible Netflix, Dave Chappelle, etc. What nobody mentions is that the joke in question that has been everywhere is literally the first joke in the special. Putting it out there on Front Street. I will say these series of things, they don't connect or relate really in any way, other than they're about the same thing. It was a good special. I enjoyed it. I laughed out loud, which, as we know, is always a good sign, especially when you're on your own. So, I enjoyed it. It was good, and I laughed. That's pretty much what you want from a stand-up special. However, I will say this, having seen a series of Dave Chappelle's stand-up specials on Netflix recently, there was an aspect of potentially going for a bit of a low-hanging fruit aspect, in the sense that some of the jokes he was telling, I felt he was just telling off the back of the controversy of his previous specials and certain previous jokes and subject matters. So there was that kind of... that might just be the way I felt about it, and maybe that wasn't it, but if you start by saying, I'm not going to tell a particular subject matter jokes, maybe sticking to that would be a thing. But I don't look at comedy the way that other people look at comedy. I come from a different generation of comedy. I will always reference what George Carlin said all those years ago. There are two knobs on a TV, so that shows how many years ago it was. One changes the channel and one turns it off. If you don't like something, just don't listen to it or change it to something you do like. Watch what you like and don't essentially waste your time watching stuff you don't like. Somebody told me, I'll give you an example. Somebody told me a joke today. It was not for me. Let's put it that way. It was a subject matter that I don't agree with, and that's that. But knowing the person that told me the joke, I was a bit like, I don't expect, for want of a better way of putting it, I don't expect much more from you as a joke teller, so I'll just let that one slide. Simple as that. From a TV show perspective, I said that I'd started watching. Now then, what is it called? I've got Rust to Riches written here, but I think is it called Car Masters? Rust to Riches. I'd been watching series 5. I have now watched episode 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is the rest of the series. More of the same, unfortunately. I said to Leon at one part, I think this show has actually reached the point now where it's unwatchable because they have just gone full-blown reality TV show. And I do understand that these programs are reality TV shows, but honestly, I wish they'd do a car show where the focus was them building a car. Because in certain episodes of this series, of this show, they were literally like, oh, we're going to build this bit of the car. It's like, all right, cool. And then the car was finished. It's like, okay. One of the ones that really took me out of the whole thing was where they went, oh, we're going to build this car, and showed the finished product as part of the build-up to building a car. I was like, that's it right there. That's the finished article right there. Why would you show that at the start? There's a lot of, they've brought in new, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but they've brought in new characters. And one of those characters is truly one of the most annoying people I think ever. And they are very much a character. So yeah, all of the stuff that I want no part of from one of these shows. I want to see you build the cars, not bringing in just whatever. They also did this thing which I feel is basically inexcusable, whatever the word is. They had a guy talking on the phone. And you could tell that they basically got the same guy to do the other side of the phone conversation for the recording. So they just put phone effect over his voice and got him to do the other side of the conversation. Mostly because there was absolutely no way they were recording the phone conversation, and it sounded exactly like him, but with phone effect over the top. It was really bad. Again, I was saying to Leanne, I feel that these, the people that are coming to buy, quote unquote, buy the car are just basically actors, just characters at this point. I know everyone watching Fast and Loud, the Gas Monkey Garage show, off the back of that and off the back of Orange County Choppers, there are these weird contracts for the people who are, again, quote unquote, buying the vehicle, the motorbike, the car, or whatever it is, that they don't actually own it. It's owned by the company, it's owned by the production. If you go to these places, a lot of the cars or bikes that were built on the show are in their showrooms. So it's a very strange setup. Honestly, I just wish we could see cars getting built. Apparently that's too much to ask, though. Let's talk computer games. I very nearly played a PlayStation game last night. I mean, I didn't, but, I nearly did. Resident Evil 4 VR. Reached a point towards the back end where I just wanted it finished. Not because it was bad. There is a thing about Resident Evil games that they just don't seem to be able to stick the landing. Now, in the Resident Evil 4 remake, what I'll say is the bit where you go to the island. Now, if you've played it, you know what I mean. If you haven't, it's not giving anything away. In the remake, it's handled a lot better than in the original. Now, obviously, we're playing Resident Evil VR, which is the original Resident Evil, so there's still elements of it where you're like, oh man, the remake did it so much better. And I will say this, the island, again, no, it's not any spoilers, a game that's many years old, but no spoilers. The island gets really long in the tooth quite early on and just keeps going, which is why in the remake it was done a lot better. Still a bit of a chore, unfortunately, but there was that whole that point I wanted it finished because I felt like I was kind of ready for it to finish, ready for it to end, and there's an aspect or element, apparently that's 2 words, not one, where it's weird to say, but you kind of want to start it again, when you've got like cool weapons and they're upgraded and stuff like that. I also had a big pile, and by pile I mean a not physical, like a digital pile of games to play, so I wanted to move on to other things. As it was, I did get it finished, and as it was, I did start New Game Plus, but I had to leave it there. I basically started it, got so far, and saved it because I wanted to move on to other things. It was good. It was fine. It's definitely one I will play again on New Game Plus. See what upgrades I can get on a second playthrough and subsequent playthroughs. So, made the decision to jump back to Sniper Elite VR, knowing that I got a little bit stuck, and I was like, it's just one of those things. I just need to go back and put some actual time into it. So I went back, put some actual time into it, and could not get past the bit I was stuck on. Physically could not get past it, to the point where I was like, I think the game is saved with a glitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the level again. Start it from the beginning and do it properly. So I started from the beginning and I did it properly and ended up in the exact same position. And I was like, this is utter insanity. Start the level, no matter what you do at that point of the level, you will fail the mission. No matter how you do it, no matter what you do, there was no rhyme or reason to why it was failing. So I looked it up online. I got a YouTube video that was a walkthrough, and the YouTube video was just somebody doing the level without a care in the world and just doing it. And the only difference I could see was they were hanging back a little bit. They weren't going up to the edge of the building. They were hanging back a bit. I was like, maybe that's the answer. So I went and did exactly the same as them and got exactly the same result as I'd been getting previously. You start the level from the checkpoint and you fail the mission. Not at the same point in time. Sometimes you could play for a good few minutes before you'd fail. Other times you'd start from the checkpoint and fail the mission. It was absolute insanity. So, I go back to the internet, but not this time to YouTube. This time I go to the internet and I do a search. Can't get past the tower. Mission keeps failing. Help. And I found an article on Reddit, and somebody had written exactly the same problem as what I was having. And I was like, oh, thankfully somebody else has had the problem. Now, if there are answers and replies to this, we might get somewhere. So I had a look, and there were answers and replies, and I looked through them, and they were like, oh, no, there's no problem. You've just got to do it like this. And I was like, well, that's the whole point anyway. So that doesn't make any sense. Then there was another reply. Oh, yeah, I know what's going wrong here. You need to take care of the truck. Yeah, the truck was a while ago. There's nobody in the truck. It's not like there's men pouring out the back of the truck. That's been dealt with. Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you've done wrong. What you've done wrong is you need to go and get the rocket launcher and use the rocket launcher to get rid of all the people. Yeah, I've tried that. And I've tried all the grenades as well. It doesn't make a difference. What you've got to do is you've just got to be really good and shoot everyone. Thank you for that one, Sherlock. I go back to the game. I try again. And at this point, it is literally just going, start the game. You failed. Start the mission. You failed. Start the mission. You failed. I was like, I'm done here. So I was like, right, I cannot play this game. I cannot get past this bit. This has been for what is now days of trying this. I need to get a refund for this game. Partially through rage and partially because I physically cannot get past this bit. I think the game is potentially broken. No mention of that in any reviews, but I was like, this is no good. Oculus decided to inform me that I can't get a refund because I've had it too long or have played it too much. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Now, I will say this. I know Oculus is part of Meta, and Meta is essentially Facebook. I'm not about to give a massive company any credit because, yeah, Facebook need my endorsement, don't they? What I will say is this. I went through a process of contacting Meta. I said, here's my issue. My issue is I've got this game. I bought it way before Christmas, but it was actually a gift for Christmas, so I didn't play it until after Christmas. I've played it. I've got so far into it, and I cannot get any further. I believe that there's possibly a glitch in the game which won't allow me to progress, and I can't get any further. But you, as a company, are saying I can't have a refund. The person, and when I say person, I use that in the loosest possible terms because I think there was some sort of amalgamation between a bot, like a help bot, chat bot, and an actual person. Don't ask me what the split was. I don't know. Person came back to me, asked me a series of questions, not too invasive. At one point, they were like, can you send a screenshot of the error you're getting? I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. They said, look, let me go and have a look at your account. I'll be back in a minute. I was like, fine. This was in the middle of the night. This was gone midnight. And I am texting someone. They came back. They said, look, as a gesture of goodwill, because you are a good customer, I was like, you freaking knows it. They were like, we're going to refund it. So I'm going to process that for you now, and then it's done. Do you need any other help? I said, no, that's amazing. Thank you very much. Two things. One, I made a terrible error because early in the conversation, I told them I'd bought the game in the sale, which I hadn't. I bought the game at full price. It then went into the sale. Checked my account a couple of days later, and I'd had a refund from them. But they refunded me the sale amount for the game. And I didn't buy it in the sale. I bought it full price. So I was a bit like, they owe me 10 quid. Do I go back to them and go, you owe me 10 quid, or do I just leave it? As it is, I have actually left it because there's an element that I did feel a little bit like I was maybe pushing my luck by that point. So Sniper Elite VR, not for me, I'm afraid. Looking at how long this has been going, I should probably speed things up. This could end up being one of the longer podcasts. Another game I played is Vampire Masquerade Justice. I read a review for this that said that one of the annoying elements of it is that it's just one long loading screen. I played a game not too long ago. I want to say it's called Outer Worlds. First person shooter RPG type thing, which I played and finished, but toward the back end was just loading screen after loading screen after loading screen and became almost unplayable. It was the weirdest thing. It was just like, oh, I've gone through a door, it's loading. Oh, I need to go through another door, it's loading. It was like, what is this game loading? I read a review that said that Vampire Masquerade had a lot of loading involved, and I was a bit like, we'll see. What I can say is this: it absolutely does have a lot of loading. Not sure if that's an early doors kind of thing or if that's going to be throughout the game. And it did what is, for me, a cardinal sin, which is I started a mission and I was going through it and I was doing all the things that I was supposed to do, going all the places I was going to go. There was a point in time where I kind of knew the game wanted me to use one of my vampire abilities. But instead I was like, I'll just go and use one of my other vampire abilities, which backfired massively. Everything went wrong. My character got killed, and that was that. Cue the loading screen, by which point I was like, oh, really? We're loading again? Cool. And it's not a quick one and all of that. The game reloaded, and it loaded from the start of the mission, and I went, ugh. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm good, thanks. With all your loading screens and all of you throwing back to the start of that level, I'm gonna leave that one there for now. Which is, I do mean that. I've put that one on hold for a moment. Another game that I've been playing a little bit over the last week or so is Smash Drums. I don't know if I mentioned at the time, but I realised that I needed to look at the settings because the height setting was incorrect. I decided to go back and have a look at the settings and change the height setting, which did have the desired effect. It put the drums at the right height for me and for somebody like Leanne, rather than for a child, as it had been set previously. Making the game a lot easier to play and making the game a lot more fun because you can actually play it properly. And I played way too much of a drumming game, which makes me sweat out of my eyeballs and makes my arms really ache on evenings before 2 sessions of climbing, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. I also started Assassin's Creed VR. I believe it's Assassin's Creed Nexus VR. Again, another one where early in the game, a lot loading, and I'm like, oh good, here we go again, more loading screens. As the game's gone on, less loading. So, kind of happy with that. Some negatives first off. Assassin's Creed is notorious for having bad mechanics. And Assassin's Creed has suffered with bad mechanics since the first one, and they're only just now getting it just about right as far as the mechanics are concerned. Let's face it, the points in Assassin's Creed 3 where you climb to the top of a building and then threw yourself off it got real old real fast. Apparently, the Assassin's Creed mechanics that are a lot better now have not transposed to the VR version, because they went, hey, here's a load of things you can do in VR with terrible mechanics, and I lost my shit. What's nice is I realised that in actual fact they have put in a kind of cool feature, which is, yes, you can do it this way, but if you can't, there is another way you can do it, which is super helpful when they're like, hey, swing on this pole. It's like, no, that's impossible. Don't be ridiculous. There was a point where I put it on yesterday and it was like, go and do this thing. I was like, okay, where? Like, just, the place where you're supposed to go. I was like, and where is that? The place. I was like, this is ridiculous. I'll just wander around until I found it. Admittedly, it was next door to where I was, and I just went in and found it. But there is an element of, I was a bit like, you could do with just a touch more direction for that one, if I'm honest. One thing I will say is the more I've played it, the more I've enjoyed it. So far, I've been through, I think I've tried the 3 characters now, because I think you play as Ezio, he was always my favourite until Edward came along. I've played as Cassandra, and I've played as Connor. And I think it might be about to double back to Ezio, maybe. No, I was playing as Connor and just turned it off at that point. Kind of liking it, kind of enjoying it. It's been cool so far. Finally, which 1 hour 30 on the record alone, I imagine saying finally is a blessing at this point. Final game to talk about is the game Phantom Covert Ops. Another game where I read some reviews, and a game that I've kind of shied away from for one reason, and that reason is that it's supposed to be played seated, which I didn't, which I might have to look at. But you're in a canoe, and you never leave the canoe. And that was the thing that always put me off about the game. However, any game I see now, and any review I see, always references this game. So I was like, I might have to check it out. Another game that I bought at full price because it was not going in any sales. And then a week later it went in a sale. But I hadn't played it at that point, and I'd only had it a week. So I immediately refunded it and bought it again at a sale price. I saw some reviews saying it's a great game and it's an amazing game. It's a fantastic game. The controls for the canoe are not brilliant and take a lot of getting used to. And boy, were they not kidding. I am sorry, but if your game is you sit in a canoe for the entire game, those controls for controlling the canoe better be absolutely on point. There should be no question whether you can maneuver that canoe the way you want to or are supposed to. That is not the case, unfortunately, and there is an element that says that it's just getting used to it, and there is an element where I say it's just bad mechanics. The other thing, which is it's a weird thing, is a personal preference thing. The game's a stealth game. Now, I don't mind a stealth game. I've got no issues with a stealth game, and I have no issues playing a stealth game as a stealth game. But barring the odd contraption that it wants you to shoot and the odd high-profile target, which in the first mission I played there was 2, giving you 3 guns and some noise-making grenade things, and expecting you to not use those guns almost at all seems a little weird to me. I imagine it's going to improve. I imagine it's going to get to a situation where there's probably a little bit more of the shooty shooty bang bang, but 2 levels in, not so much. Any of those games there that I've mentioned, apart barring Resident Evil 4 and Sniper VR, I have not played and finished, so look forward to more reviews of those. But yeah, this one's been an absolute doozy, so I'll leave you to it. Bye. So there you go, what do you think to that? A long one, I think you'll agree. But you know, there was some important stuff in there somewhere, hidden well. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, thank you for being here. Yeah, check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There you can find social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. Share the podcast around, like, share, subscribe, comment. Leave comments where you can leave comments. Share the podcast around. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to Cookie Cast.